Okay, guys, Sharon living on school corner. I think I'm becoming deflated. You're not coming on again. I can understand. I don't know. Maybe it just happens. Strangely, but things are happening. Like I said, we're talking about the principal's job description. If you were online before, my apologies. Every time it happens to us, and I'm becoming more disconcerted when it happens. So if you're not going to come online again, then I can't blame you, because I think most of us will become frustrated if we watch this. But yes, it probably just happens. Okay, so let me just pick up. Maybe those who are going to join me will get back on board again. I said we're still busy with the principal's job description. And I want to focus specifically tonight on the professional management. If the principal is responsible for the professional management of the school, then the big question is, what do we understand by that? What do we understand by professional management? And if we say the principal must be the school leader, what do we understand by that? And what do we expect to see in reality? What do we expect to see at the school? Okay, because I made a point and I said, sometimes we can get so lost in this jargon and use all the fancy words. And then when we ask, okay, so what evidence is there at your school of whatever point you're making, then we get stuck. So I want us to draw a connection between the theory and the practice. Okay. If I'm online and you can see me, let me know, because here's some weird stuff here at the moment. It says I'm live for the past minute. Nobody's joining at the moment, so maybe I'm not live. Okay, so I'm just going to continue as if everybody can see me. Now I am actually Gilo. Hi Gilo, thank you. Listen, Gilo, strange things are happening on my side of the world. Every time when I come online, then something happens. The video goes, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I really can't explain this, because I tested before I go online, and make sure that everything is in order. But I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to continue. We're not going to talk for too long. Okay, so those who left, sorry for that. But the main thing is, like I said, we're still busy talking about the principal's job description, but we want to focus specifically on the core function of the principal. And the core function of the principal is to ensure that the school is managed professionally. The professional management of the school is done effectively. Okay, so the core function is to be responsible for the professional management of the school. And because the principal is the main school leader, the principal is the one who sets the tone. The principal is the one who's supposed to set the strategic direction of the school. The principal is supposed to enable the school community to come up with a vision that speaks to how the school is going to help all the children flourish at the school, how all the children are going to achieve and become successful regardless of the context. Okay, so that was the point I was making. And in the previous Facebook Live now this evening, when we got cut off, I was saying, let us strip all this jargon. Okay, when we talk about professional management of a school, what do we mean by that? What do we mean by the principal being a professional? And what do we mean when we say the principal is a professional manager? And if we say the principal is a school leader, what do we understand by leading a school? Okay, what do we understand by that? And what is the evidence we want to see at our schools? Now, in order for us to then, we need to understand how the theory matches with the practice, or how it translates into practice. What do we see on the ground? Because otherwise, everybody will just say we must make sure that the school is running effectively and efficiently, and we must ensure that all the learners get the highest quality of education. That is good, but what does that look like on the ground? What do we understand by high quality teaching and learning? And what do we understand by professional management? Okay, and then I referenced the South African standard for principalship, and I said I just want to pick up a few points where it speaks about the principal being playing the leading role in terms of teaching and learning happening at the school. And what is quite important in the standards, you'll see that it unpacks that the principal must have knowledge of the curriculum, of the current curriculum that we have, and the principal must know the values and the goals that are embedded in the curriculum. You see, it's one thing knowing just that there's the curriculum, and then of course there will be the subject syllabi for each of the grades, for each of the phases, whatever. But as principals, do we know what the goals are? What the what the values are that are embedded in the curriculum? Because if a principal doesn't know the goals and the values that underpin our curriculum, then that means the principal will become like a mechanic. In other words, the principal will just say the work must be covered, and once the work is covered, then we've done what we're supposed to do. But the principal must know the values and the goals. The second point in the standards under the teaching and leading is that the principal must also be aware of good teaching and learning practices. In other words, the principal should be able to go into a class and teach and demonstrate. The principal should be able to model certain teaching strategies. Now, that's quite profound because there's an expectation that the principal is not only the instructional leader in a theoretical sense, but the principal is an instructional leader in the sense that the principal, when he or she talks about teaching and learning approaches, then the principal should have modeled that as well. And is that happening at your school? Can a principal go into a class and teach in his or her area, if it's high school, for example, or even at primary school? Can the principal, if he or she came from the intermediate phase, can that principal go into a class and teach and model the kind of teaching and learning practices that he or she would like to see at the school? Because if you want to manage a school professionally, you as the principal must have an acute awareness and understanding and experience of how teaching happens. And not only that, how do you do it? How can you put into practice what you're asking your teachers to do? Now, that's a tall order, but I think it's important because we can't just talk and say, you must manage the children, you must teach like this, you must pace yourself. Is the principal able to do that? Can the principal also demonstrate that to the teachers at some point? And we're not saying you want to see what the principal can do. We're saying if somebody's struggling about pacing work or managing a classroom, can the principal go in there and model the behavior or whatever teaching practice it is? Can the principal do that? Because that is one of the requirements if you become a principal. Okay, you must also have the skills and the techniques, and so that you can identify with your teachers. Okay, so that falls under professional management. It's not just about making sure that the teachers are teaching. Can you also do that? Or do you know at least the theory of it, and in certain areas you can demonstrate your skills? Okay, I see quite a few people have joined, so let me just say hello. I feel, guys, I don't know, I want to stop complaining. Dawn Johnson, thanks for joining. Lamish, you came back. Melissa came back. Wanda, thank you, Wanda, for being here. Brian, thank you for being here. And Colin, lovely. Wine God is here. And who else is here? Okay, and then I'm going to read a few comments. Julia says she can hear me. Thanks, Julia. Yeah, so we're talking about the professional management. The South African standards for principalship, if you look under the leading teaching and learning in the school, that function of the principal, then it also speaks about, does the principal know what resources teachers can use to help them advance the learning and teaching in their classrooms? Okay, so that requires the principal to have a deep knowledge of learning and teaching materials. So do you as a principal, do you know what learning materials are there? Do you know how teachers can use it? You know, are you researching this? Are you reading? Are you talking to your colleagues about it? Are you talking to teachers who have that information? Because you are the key teacher leader. And so if you want your teachers to, you know, execute their jobs effectively in the classroom, then you must know what the picture of excellence looks like. And you should be able to identify those elements, and you should be able to share that with teachers or get people to demonstrate that, because you can identify that. Okay? So it's not about just, yeah, I'm giving you my understanding of professional management, and it's embedded here in the standards as well. Because if you become a principal, it doesn't mean you standing there like an observer, you know, like a lighthouse, just checking out what is happening. You must become actively involved. You must become embroiled in that. Your brain should be working. You should be reading. You should be talking about these things. You should be asking and learning with the teachers. Because how else are you going to manage the school professionally? Okay, so I'm going to check if there are other comments. Other points that are mentioned is, for example, that you should be able, you must build a culture, a nurturing culture at your school. So when we're talking about nurturing culture, what do we mean by nurturing, and what does it look like on the ground? You know, it's critical for us. I go to many schools and I see schools have enter to learn, leave to serve. I hope I got it right now. Enter to learn, right? So enter to learn, what must they learn? Did we ever unpack that? What are we expecting the learners to learn besides learning the curriculum? What are we expecting them to learn? Values? Are we expecting them to learn, to acquire certain behaviors? What must they learn? Has that been unpacked at the school? Are you making sure that all the teachers understand what do you mean when you say enter to learn and leave to serve? What does it mean and what does it look like? Because if everybody's got their own pictures in their own heads, and you as the leader, you've got your picture, then you're all talking at cross angles. Then can you then claim that you are managing your school professionally? Because you're not creating an inclusive, common, united vision at the school. And if you're a leader, you must give the school strategic direction. You must help to unpack those terms. You must help people to understand, and you must ask people what concepts they have in their heads, what do they want to see on the ground, and does that match with what you have in your head? Okay, so yes, I'm doing all the talking, but I'm going to listen to some of the comments. Brunalda Thornton Hartnick says, hi, Miss Lewin. I'm Sharon on here. Brunalda, Sharon, Lewin from School Corridor. Thanks for joining us. And then, of course, Brian is here. I did greet you, Brian, because you're going to accuse me again of not greeting you. And then Colin came on again. Colin is the one who's introduced me to the whisper phone. Okay, so thanks, guys, for joining. But let's get back to the conversation. What is in your head when we talk about professional management? What do you understand by that concept? And what do you expect to see on the ground? If you're a principal, how are you managing your school? Right? And how are you leading your school? Give us some examples here. Let us see some examples of, what would you say is a good management technique that you put in place at your school? Or what kind of leadership are you providing at your school so that you can see year by year, year on year, your school is growing and becoming better? Okay, so talk to me for a while. Let me see, nobody's commenting. You're back, says Michelle Pinto. Thanks, Michelle. Nobody's commenting at this point, or am I not seeing the comments? Everybody just, oh yeah, Dawn says, thank you for all your presentations on School Corridor. Thank you, Dawn, for coming on board. I'm learning so much. Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, no, you weren't here when we were switched off all the time. I'm always looking forward to you. Thank you so much for that. Michelle Pinto says, encourage your teachers to attend as many courses and workshops. Okay, that is Michelle saying that that would be a good sign that you're allowing teachers to go on workshops and courses. And then can I just be the devil's advocate? Once the teachers have been on the courses and the workshops, how do you create an enabling environment for that teacher to share that information with other colleagues who didn't go? And how are you creating the stage for the teacher to implement some of the things that he or she has learned? You know, because I think sometimes we just stop. Everybody goes on courses, but we don't give people time to. Well, that's really weird to say that, but perhaps I should just rephrase. Do we create an opportunity for teachers to use whatever skills they learn? You know, because I think some of us have this quick fix mindset. Sharon has been on a course, so when Sharon comes back, it's implement, use all the ideas, and then in 3 months' time, the children didn't shift in any, you know, in any dramatic way. And then you'll say, but Shannon went on a course and look at her, she's still stuck where she is. We must understand that when we go to workshops and we go to on courses, we get information and we must still digest that information, and we still need to experiment with that information in our classrooms. Or if you're a principal and you go on courses and workshops, you must still make sense of that information at your school. Okay, so we can't expect a dramatic turnaround just because we went on courses and workshops. Michelle, I'm not shooting down your point. I'm just asking, if we send teachers on workshops and courses, then how do we help the teacher to use that new knowledge at the school? How do we encourage the person? And how do we get that person to share the information with other teachers? So you sort of just, you know, make sure that each one principal is also operating at your school. Wada says, great going. Wada, such amazing supporter. Thank you, Wada. Without you, I don't know what I'll do. Great going, valuable info, principles, modeling, demonstrating strategies. Yes, it's what. Direct involvement keeps teachers accountable. The goal must be the same for all stakeholders. Yes, I agree with that. Malika Ismail, thanks for joining us. And then Delisha Williams also joined. Thanks, Delisha. And Theola Phillips, my cheerleaders here. Hi, Theola. My internet connection is bad. Same here. We'll watch when you post it. Okay. And then Michelle says, totally with you. Your points are important. Thanks. Okay. So I don't know, where are the other people? Just give me some comments. We're talking about the professional management. And I think I want to underscore the point that when we say the principal is responsible for the professional management of the school, we can read all the points there. I'm asking us to unpack what we mean by professional management. What do we regard as, when the principal, what do we mean when we say the principal must be a professional? What is the knowledge base we're expecting from the principal? What is the skill set we expect the principal to have? What is the competencies that we expect the principal to have? And what are the personality traits? What are the attributes we're expecting the principal to have? Okay. And I'm also asking you to say then how, if you want all those things, how will it help the learners and how will you see it happening at the school? And in some cases, how must the principal demonstrate those various attributes or skills or competencies? What do you want to see at your school to know that your principal is managing the school professionally? Okay, I think that is important, because if you manage your school professionally, it means you've got certain you've got certain goals that you want to reach, you've got certain objectives. Yes, and then what are the actions that you're expecting on the ground, and how are you going to get the teachers to buy into that? How are you going to get the teachers to embrace those goals and those actions that you attach to the goals? And then how are you eventually going to monitor that? How are you going to make sure that it happens, and how are you going to help to direct and steer the staff so that they are performing those actions or those, just demonstrating those behaviors that you see as part of your professional management repertoire that you're using at the school. Okay, for want of a better phrase. Okay. Yes, I used the example earlier. We won't trust leaders if we don't feel comfortable with them having technical knowledge. We often mistrust leaders if we don't feel they have the academic knowledge, they don't have all the skills, leadership skills. And again, what do we mean by leadership skills, right? And we often become jittery around principals who don't have the competencies that we think will help our school move. Now, the big question is, how are we then going to help the principal? And how is the principal going to help himself or herself? Okay? Whatever you're doing at the school, if it's not working, what are you doing to improve that? If something is working, how do you know it's working? Who did you ask? Did you ask the teachers? Did you ask your staff? Are you checking with your parents? Are you checking with your learners in terms of how they feel about particular things at the school? Are you communicating with the stakeholders at your school? Because you need feedback. You may have a picture in your head as a principal, but that picture might just be your picture. It's not clear to the various stakeholders, like your learners, like your teachers, like your parents. How do you make sure that everybody understands what the picture is? And then how are you all going to work towards making that picture reality? Okay? I think I may be moving in circles. Anybody else? Karen Hammond is also here. Yeah, if you're not going to ask me questions, I suppose I'm just going to roll on for a few minutes then. If we talk about, let's use the example of when the principal should be managing the school, right? But we also know that the principal must be the leader. Now, let's say you have a feeding facility at your school, your nutrition program that you run at the school. If you're managing the nutrition program at your school, then you're going to make sure that the learners get their meals on time, right? You're going to make sure that there's a venue for them to have the meal and that they are getting the meal. That is the mechanical part of it. If you are leading the school and you're managing the school professionally, your question will be, one, how many of our learners require a meal in the morning? How many of our learners come to school hungry? And if you know how many learners come to school hungry, then it means we need to provide a meal for all those learners at the school so that because hunger is a barrier, one. And secondly, their brains can't function properly. They're going to be tired in the class. They're not going to be able to function in the class. They're going to be listless. You know all the symptoms. So while we're feeding the learners, one, we want to feed the learners because they need food to survive. Secondly, they need to know that they're getting some nutrients in so that their brains can function well in the class, because they're going to be subjected to learning, which is it's a taxing thinking process, right? It's not just filling the child with information. The child is getting so much information and that child's brain must process that. Now, if the child's brain is in starvation mode, then the child won't be able to learn. So if you know how many children must be fed so that you can create the kind of culture and the environment for the children to learn, then it means they must all get a meal. So you need to know that you need to provide for, say, 100 children. You can't just provide, say, for 30 children and then think that you are managing the school. Are you with me? You may be managing the nutrition, but the nutrition is just for 30 children and it's just happening. But if you are leading the school, you will do an assessment why the children need the meal. You're going to make sure that the children who need the meal will get the meal, and you will know it's for those reasons. Then you are leading, and then you are managing your school professionally, because you're making sure the learners have a meal, they're comfortable, and at least you are helping them to learn better. Does that make sense? I sometimes think we just take facts and figures because we just want the books to balance. We have sport. So yes, we have soccer. How many children are playing soccer? 11. Then we claim we have sport at the school. That means only 11 children have the opportunity to run around and get some exercise at our school in terms of the sport that we offer. So yeah, that's the question I'm asking. If you're managing the school professionally, what does it look like in the classroom? What does it look like outside? How many children are involved? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you offering food? Why are you offering netball? Why are you offering soccer? Why are the children sitting without running around during interval, for example? Why are they just sitting? Wouldn't you like them to get exercise? Wouldn't you like them to stimulate their brains? And if you want to, what does that mean? Shouldn't you be getting things in for them, resources for them to play with during the intervals? Then I think you would then be leading and you will be managing your school professionally because you'll be creating an environment for them. Am I off course at the moment here? Okay, let's see here. Malika says great leadership will take the school to the next level. Yes, Malika, but what do you mean by the next level? Okay, lovely question. I like that. But I said we want to interrogate the language we're using. When we say to the next level, where's your school currently? What is your level currently in terms of the academic performance of the learners, in terms of providing extracurricular activities for the learners, in terms of providing intervention or support, additional support for the learners, in terms of connecting with the parents, communicating with the parents, in terms of even in relation to your staff, at what level is your school currently operating? You see, we first need to know that data. We first have to do that research. Because once we know that, then we can say, okay, what do we mean by next level? If this is how we're communicating with our parents, and we want to say we want to take it to the next level, what is the next level? And what actions will go with the next level? If we say we want to take the staff to the next level, we want the teachers to have a better teaching experience in the class. What do we mean by that? Are we going to ask the teachers what they need and what they want to help them create the environment there? Are you with me, Malika? It's really about articulating what you mean by next level. And then you put in place, visible elements that will be transcribing your goal. And then you can measure and say, okay, we are improving. Look at here, we're communicating better with our parents now. Our children seem to be happier. They're playing around. There seems to be children tend to, they're not falling asleep in class anymore. They're not, because we're feeding more kids, and we notice there's a turnaround. Only once we do that, when we understand the base that we're working from, identify where we want to go, and then track our progress, monitor and evaluate. That, for me, is what that is an example of what I regard as managing your school professionally. Knowing where you're going, being able to name what you're looking at, being able to name where you want to go, and then working out the action plan to get there, because it's process work. And then track as you go along and revise and change course as you maneuver your way, as you meander along to get where you are. Yeah, I don't know. Can one say that you manage the task, but you lead the person? Yes, Theola, we manage the task and we lead the person. But my big question tonight is, what do you mean by that? When you say manage the task, what tasks are you talking about? what must be managed, and if the people are led, who are the people and how are you going to lead them? What behaviors will manifest? What actions will we see? I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm trying to think of an example while I'm talking here. Holistic development, says Nicole Lynn Frank. Thanks, Nikki. And thanks for coming on. Yes, again, holistic development. What do we mean by that? Holistic development. What does it mean? Is it inclusive? Is it whole? And whole of what? I'm asking us to demystify the language we're using. I'm asking us to look at the words we're using and put it in simple terms and tell us what we will see in reality. Because I'm convinced we've got the language, but when we ask, okay, now how are we going to, how is that going to manifest in reality? That's when we get stuck, And I think we had this conversation previously also about excellence. We asked, what do you mean by excellence? Is that excellent? No, what do you mean by excellence? Does it mean 100% of the children must pass? Remember that discussion we had? So the same with holistic. So Nicole, I'm sort of just being the devil's advocate and asking us to think about, what do we mean? What do we want to see on the ground? What do we want to see in our classrooms? What do we want to see at our school? What will be the visible artifacts? What will be the visible signs and symbols that we will see on the ground? Okay. Thanks, Sherry Meyer, our new circuit manager. Thanks for coming on board. Love that. Okay, so nobody's really challenging me here or mentioning other things, and I think I'm deliberately picking up on those phrases because I sometimes think we get locked in all this language. Certain words just become they're in vogue, and so we all speak about, like I said earlier, offline, and we must have inclusive teaching. My question is, what does it look like on the ground? Okay, if the principal is responsible for the professional management, for the principals, what are you doing at your school to show that you are managing your school professionally? What is happening in your classrooms? How are you ensuring that good teaching and learning are taking place in the classroom? What's happening outside on your fields? What's happening in your bathrooms, your pollution plugs? What's happening to your parents? What is happening to your other stakeholders? How are you managing everything at the school in a way that you are advancing excellence? Okay? And then if you're the leader, how are you articulating your vision? How have you shared your vision with the school? And does your vision align with the vision of the school? Your teachers, have they articulated their vision for the school? And do those visions of your teachers align with the vision of your school? Because if we don't have that alignment, if we don't have that common understanding of where the school is going and what it looks like in reality, what will we see? What will the evidence be? What will the markers be? Then we won't make much progress, I think, because everybody will be locked in their own little world, have their own little worldview up there, or what they see, what they think should be happening in the classroom. But those are the things we need to talk about. We need to establish that common ground, and then the principal must ensure that it happens. And in that way, the principal is going to ensure that the school is managed effectively and efficiently. Because the principal putting structures in place, how to put the structures in place, how to put the systems in place, how to create an ecosystem. Okay? Right. Anything that you want to add? Oh, here's a long comment from Nicole. There are multiple intelligences. There are different teaching methods. I completely agree with you, yes, when you say there must be a vision first. It's not easy. Yes, must be inclusive. I like that point. Thanks, Nicole. And then Michelle says, every phase meeting should be at least have at least one developmental workshop where a teacher who went to a course or workshop shares information, and then teachers can discuss how it can be incorporated in the classroom. Yes, Michelle and Nicola agree with those points. Right? I'm pushing, I'm sort of advocating that we strip our language to its basic elements. You know, we must be able to name something, be able to explain something, and be able to show something. That is what I'm advocating. So if the principal is responsible for the professional management of the school, the principal must name it, must claim it and show it. And the teachers must help. And in all the processes where we discuss things and collaborate and all that, but the principal must be able to name what we should be able to see at the school. The principal should then be able to say what are what is the evidence going to be, what do we look out for, so that everybody will know exactly what to do. Okay, if we throw around sometimes all these words, my idea of holistic education could be totally different to yours. My idea of inclusive education could be totally different to yours. But if we have a common understanding of what these concepts mean and what we should see on the ground, then the principal can just manage with his team or her team to see that everything is done. Okay? I think, yeah, that is what I needed to discuss this evening. So I asked, what do we mean by professional development? And if the principal is the main leader, I did ask that question, what do we mean by that? And what do we want to see on the ground? What is the evidence? What is the behavior patterns we'll see? And then I want to know what role must others play at the school then? If the principal is the one who must ensure that professional management happens at the school, what is the role of the teachers to ensure that the principal's job is facilitated? That we don't become the barriers. That once we understand that is the vision of the school, those are the goals, those are the objectives that we are all aiming for, and that the teachers then help in their way, using their own creative methods, using their own professional judgment to get to those common goals and objectives. And that we don't become the barriers to block that development. So the other question is, what role are we playing to ensure that we are helping to create that climate where the principal can manage the school professionally? Okay? So, yes, if that is sort of it that I want to talk about. So I don't see any other comments around here. Maybe you can just guide me next time. What do we need to talk about? But I think it was critical that and maybe you should take it back into your staff rooms and ask your colleagues, ask your friends, what do you mean by professional? What do you understand by professional management? If the principal must ensure that there's professional management at the school, what do we expect the principal to do? And if that's our expectations of the principal, then how are we going to make sure that that happens? Especially if we know that everything, the way the school is managed, should help the children excel. So if there are gaps at your school in terms of how the school is being managed professionally, then I would suggest that you start that conversation, get people talking about it and get them excited and say, okay, we want to move, we want to create an environment here where everybody's treated with respect, everybody's top of the game, and the children are the main beneficiaries. Yes, so on that note, because I don't see any other comments around here, and you just disappeared from my screen. On that note, I'm going to say, listen, thanks for tuning in. Let me know for next time, because what else can we talk about the principal's job description? Not just flying through it. If we talk about that point, how can we sit with that point for a while and say, what is happening? It just nobody shared things. I don't know, the principals also didn't share what they're doing. And I know you're amazing principals here on the chat here, and there are amazing principals out there, but nobody wants to share. You're not arrogant if you share with us, guys. you're not being egotistical, and you don't have to worry about your school context. I think it's important for us to share, let people know what is happening at your school, what good things are happening there, and what you're doing, and let us know that if we're struggling, we're struggling. And how can we help turn things around? If you teach the same thing, how do we help each other grow? And so I'm like quite surprised that nobody's even telling us things. Only the teachers that are engaging, but none of the principals are engaging with us here tonight. So yes, I'm going to definitely run, and I think there's going to be like a whole series, another 2-3 sessions, because I think when you must tell me if it's if this is worthwhile. Some people did say it's worthwhile, but I don't think we can treat this discussion of the principal's job description so lightly and get lost in all the jargon. I think we need to bring it home. We need to strip it to its essentials, just to the basic elements, and then say, let's look at this bare thing here. Let's look at this concept, and let's unpack it, and let's see what is happening at the school and what we would like to see in terms of this whole responsibility that the principal has. Okay, so next time when I see you, hopefully, gosh, I don't know. I can't even guarantee that you'll stay online all the time. But thanks for being here. I love this. I really enjoy having you around. But I'm just like tonight a little bit surprised that certain people are so quiet. So we'll see each other soon. You go well. I know you're going on holiday. Have fun. Energize yourself, guys. Pay attention to your health. Pay attention to yourself. Just do things for yourself. Don't worry, the school will be fine, your teachers will be fine, the learners will be fine. You just chill and re-energize yourself so that you can come back next term and just do the amazing work that you are doing. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sharon from School Corridor. Here we like to fly along the corridors so that everybody can just become bigger and better. See you next time. Cheerio.